Canto 1, Chapter 5, text number 17. Canto 1, Chapter 5, text number 17. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shaktva Sadharmam Charanam Bhujam Harir. Bhajan Apakvota Patetato Yadi. Yatra Kva Bhabhadram Abhudamushakim. Kovarta Apto Bhajatam Swadharmataha. Chaktva Swadharmam Charanam Bhujam Harir. Bhajana Pakota Patetato Yadi. Kovarta Apto Bhajatam Swadharmataha. I went ahead. Kovarta Apto Bhajatam Swadharmataha. Translation: one who has forsaken his material occupation to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage, yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. Strong. I'll read the last sentence again. A non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duty, does not gain anything. On the Transcendental Sut platform. Purport by Srila Prabhupada: as far as the duties of mankind are concerned, there are innumerable duties. Every man is duty-bound not only to parents, family members, society, country, humanity, other living beings, the demigods, etc., but also to the great philosophers, poets, scientists, etc. It is enjoined in the scriptures that one can relinquish all such duties and surrender unto the service of the Lord. So, if one does so and becomes successful in the discharge of his devotional service unto the Lord, it is well and good. But it so happens sometimes that one surrenders himself unto the service of the Lord by some temporary sentiment, and in the long run, due to many other reasons, he falls down from the path of service by undesirable association. There are so many instances of this in the histories. Bharat Maharaj was obliged to take his birth as a stag due to his intimate attachment to a stag. He thought of this stag when he died. As such, in the next birth, he became a stag, although he did not forget the incident of his previous birth. Similarly, Chitraketu also fell down due to his offense at the feet of Shiva. But in spite of all this, the stress is given here to surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Lord, even if there is a chance of falling down, because even though one falls down from the prescribed duties of devotional service, he will never forget the lotus feet of the Lord. Once engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, one will continue the service in all circumstances. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that even a small quantity of devotional service can save one from the most dangerous position. There are many instances of such examples in history. Ajamila is one of them. Ajamila, in his early life, was a devotee, but in his youth he fell down. Still, he was saved by the Lord at the end. End of purport. So this verse is quoted very often. Those of you that have been accustomed to hearing Srila Prabhupada lecture, you'll recognize this verse. And, the message is significant because the verse is significant. Chaktva sva dharmam. Dharmam. The indication in the purport is duties of mankind. Sva dharmam is one's own. Out of the big picture of duties, there's my duties, sva dharma. And sva dharma may be parsed or identified according to one situation. A father's duty, a son's duty, the wife's duty, duties unto other living entities, duties unto this and that and the other thing. So there's big collection, big laundry list of duties. And followers of sanatana dharma or varnashram dharma, one of Prabhupada's favorite punching bags is there's no such thing as Hindu. And people will say it again and say it again and say it again, and he'll say it again. There's no such thing. Sanatana dharma, varnashram dharma, no such thing. So those who are sanatana dharmis, that is, they know the sanatana, the eternal occupation of living entity is what? Is to serve the supreme sanatana. That's sanatana dharma. And dharma may change from one body to another body, one circumstance of life. In the same lifetime to another circumstance, duties may change. But the principle, sanatana principle, doesn't change. All those duties have a purpose or target or centeredness. Life is sanatana dharma. So what's the purpose of sanatana dharma? One can say different things, but the purpose, same as what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, the purpose of the Vedas. The life of the Vedas is sanatana dharma. The purpose of the Vedas is to know Krishna. Vedaishcha sayarvair aham eva vedyo. Are there persons that are interested in prescribed duties, but haven't hit the center for some reason, call themselves Hindus, and they just don't have, the center is not focused? Maybe there, or may not even be there at all. Vedantists, where's the center? Brahman? Maybe. And the process to get there is speculation or gyan to get to Brahman, and Krishna is not at the center. They're not really Vedantists. That's another thing. They study Vedanta, they know Sanskrit. Based upon knowing Sanskrit, they study Vedanta, and they come to conclusions that are not Vedanta. Or partial. Be generous and call it partial. In any case, those who are followers of prescribed duties of mankind, they may, the verses say, chaktva swadharmam charanambujam harer. They may take shelter of the charana ambujam, the lotus feet of Hari. They may neglect or chaktva, cast aside the subordinate duties and just do the one. They may. And dedicate themselves to the eternal dimension of sanatana dharma, which is taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, which means simply being dedicated to his service. There's a very nice description, amongst many nice descriptions, where Madhvacharya, when he was something like 12 years old, he informed, his father started getting nervous because the young boy who had completed his studies when he was 12 years old was starting to take shelter and hear from a sannyasi, Achyuta Preksha. He became very, 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 very studious and very interested in transcendence. His father got a little nervous. And many things happened. And at some point in time, some discussion between the father and son, saying, you have a duty. If you take sannyas, then who's going to take care of your mother and me in our old age? That's the duty of the son. And he pointed to Manu Samhita, because his father was very learned, and according to Manu Samhita, here's the text. There's no better duty for a son than to serve their parents in their old age. So that's a swadharma, according to Manu Samhita. And because his son was highly learned, he wasn't like one-upping his father, but he said, and according to the scriptures, when one develops a desire to take full shelter of the Supreme Lord, that supersedes the swadharma, the worldly duties of Manu Samhita. Then his father, tried again and tried again. He got desperate and said, if you take sannyas, I'll give up my life. And right then and there, 12-year-old boy took off his upper garment, put his upper garment on as a coping, and said, go ahead, take your life. I challenge your threat. And he cried. You're too smart. What about your mother? So he said, if my mother doesn't give permission, then I won't. He had a plan B. So his mother was prompted by father to say, don't say yes. So he went and asked, and she said, I don't give my permission. And he said, very well, then I'm just going to leave home, and you'll never see me again. I won't take sannyas. I'll just leave home. You'll never see me again. And she cried and said, okay, go ahead, take sannyas. At least I'll see you again. And then he said, I won't accept sannyas until you have a son who can look after you in your older age. So that was a nice settlement. And after some time, they had another son. He said, so there, this young child, male child, he'll look after you. I'm going to take sannyas. And he took sannyas. This is a little example that there's swadharma and there's something that is superlative to swadharma. He quoted it from the scripture. When a child, it's the duty of the father, when the child develops this affinity to take full shelter, he must support it. Even it meant, some factors of Swadharma, that's the father's Swadharma, or highest paradharma, is to support, because that's the purpose of parenting. That's the purpose of life. The purpose of the child, purpose of the parent, purpose of the duties of varnashram, dharma. So back to the verse. Supposing, due to some impetus, one decides, let me take full shelter of Krishna. It decides to take full shelter of Krishna. So in any situation, not just father, son, or family things, as supposing somebody. And the example that Prabhupada gives is due to bad association, they desist. It doesn't have to be bad association. It could just be the unsteadiness of life, and there's the rise, and then there's the fall. And then when the fall comes, supposing that full surrender impetus subsides, and one may slacken. When you slacken in submission, this is Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who's a householder. When you slacken in submission, what happens? Supposing there's not just an on and off switch for this light, but there's a dimmer switch. When you dim it down, it becomes darker. Turn it up, it becomes brighter. So with bhakti, that submission can be greater or lesser. Supposing it becomes lesser, then that when there's submission slackens, Maya comes. The principle is simple. Prabhupada made things so easy to understand. So easy. There are these two things, light and darkness, they don't go side by side. So there's light, here's an object, and here's a shadow of the object. My hand is casting a shadow on the white sheet back here. And as the object moves, the shadow moves, not the other way. So that there's two things, light and darkness, or shadow. So this is the shadowy realm, where there's the absence of light. When you're looking at the light, you just see the light. You turn your back to the light, you see shadow, and there's not two things. Not more than two things. Light and darkness. Take your pick. Well, I'd like some light and I'd like some darkness. Thank you. Mixed. So then it's covered, it's not Shuddha. Anyway, one could say that's not the exact same thing as a total fall down, but it's not a total fall up either, or rise up. The message that's within besides these historical examples that are nice to know, the two things. One is that experience isn't forgotten. It may be covered. I mean, what happened with Bharat is unique. He's in the body of a deer and he remembers everything about his previous life as Bharata. That's pretty rare. Because normally when you get another body or circumstance of life, you just forget. Forgetfulness. But if there's remembrance, where's that remembrance come from? From the same place forgetfulness comes from. Super soul. And deep inside, chances are, many of us in the room engage in some devotional service somewhere back there. We may not remember. But somewhere, because here we are. And it depends. But the message that's in the purport, in the scripture, is that remembrance stays with you, although it may be covered. And then all it takes is a little prompt to remove some of the covering and awaken some of the remembrance. And then we may not remember the activities of our previous life, but the object of the Supreme Personality of Godhead awakens. And that's what preaching is. That is to say, all living entities have an eternal relationship with Krishna, but we've forgotten. And that forgetfulness is described in various ways as coverings. Call it tamagun, rajagun, coverings, and different descriptions of coverings. But deep inside, this is Chaitanya Charitamrita. Deep inside, there's Krishna prema, not only a relationship with Krishna, but Krishna prema. Nitya Siddha Krishna prema sajikabunai Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karayeudo in Bengali. Shravana Adi, beginning with hearing. Shravanadi, this is yesterday's verse. Beginning with hearing, O Vyasadeva, make an arrangement so that persons that have too much affinity for matter can have the affinity for matter removed by hearing. And when that affinity for matter is removed, something remains, and that's who we really are. The eternal soul's eternal relationship with the Supreme. In the mature stage, there's a seed, and within the seed, there's the potential of the mature stage, Krishna Prema, and it's Krishna Prema, the seed of Krishna Prema is sprouted by Shravana, Adi, the other processes of bhakti starting with Shravana. So that's what we do. We emphasize, Bhagavatam emphasizes the importance of hearing. That was Narada's instruction to Vyasa. That's what Vyasa did in his Srimad Bhagavatam. All of this is instruction of compile such a literature that achieves that awakening of souls that are forgetful. Then this verse is supposing somebody becomes inspired and they go for it. Not mature, but inspired. And they don't succeed in achieving the perfectional stage. No loss. So that's two things. One, that experience is maybe covered, but it's never forgotten. It's of the soul. It's sanatana, just as the soul is sanatana. The relationship and the experience of that relationship, to whatever degree we in this lifetime revive that relationship with Krishna, it's never lost. There's a memory of it somewhere, maybe covered. And the second is the reference from Bhagavad Gita, where swalpam apyasya dharmasya, swalpam means small amount, sva alpa, swalpam apyasya dharmasya, trayate mahatobayat. Trayate, it delivers one from Mahabhaya. Prabhupada's explanation, what's that Mahabhaya? It's not just death, but the death that takes one down into lower regions of material lower births in your next life. You're protected from that. We're protected from that. Even we may become, lost. We're protected from that, Mahabhaya. Because super soul doesn't forget. And whatever service we have done, even sva alpa, even a little. So we like to engage people in devotional service. We like to engage people in hearing. We like to engage people in receiving transcendental literature, even people that are, however you might describe them, not in a very favorable circumstance of life. Why? Why we have that interest? Why did Prabhupada, why does our founder Acharya, why do all of our Acharyas write so many volumes of literature? Why is Narada instructing Vyasa, the previous verse, to write such literature? because it's a beginning, and even that little beginning is never lost. Prabhupada's explanation. Supposing you advance 6%. Next life, you begin 7%. Never lost. Supposing take another percentage and it's never lost. So we shouldn't be satisfied with something that's just something. The awakening process is to come to full dedication. But we're not there yet, so what do? We do what we're capable of doing sincerely and steadily and faithfully, knowing that little drops, and it's going to accumulate. And seek good association according to the good association here, and serve those two. And side by side aspire to go further in what? In our awakening of our eternal relationship with Krishna. That's at the center of Sanatana Dharma. And there are things that can lead closer to that end goal or purpose of the Vedas. And we are where we are. We can accept where we are. And by sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya, anartha nivritti, come closer to the stage of nishtha and keep going. Don't be complacent. Don't become proud. Don't become negligent. Don't make offense. There's some do nots, and there's some do's. Like anything, like life. So that's the message of this morning's verse. Let's do it again. It's a Sanskrit in translation. Chakva sadharmam charanam bhujam harir. Bhajan apakvo ta patetato yadi. Yatrakva bhadram abud amushakim. Kovarta apto bhajatam swadharmataha. One who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage, yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything strong. They gain something. What's the something? Illusion? A reflection of reality? What's the substance of a reflection? No substance. It looks like the real thing. There's no substance. That means, thus, he doesn't gain anything. He gains a reflection of substance. A shadow. And children may be happy with a shadow, but adults aren't. They don't want a shadow. They want the real thing. And you can take anything. Let's say eating. Food. That's something. But if it just stays on the material platform, it's not attaining anything substantial. Wait a minute, I feel my belly and it's substantial. I feel something. I'm full. Well, what's that? Full. Now you see it, the mirror moves, and now you don't. You're no longer in that body and you're no longer feeling full. the whole picture changes. Just like a child with a kaleidoscope. You look at through the kaleidoscope and there's something. You turn the kaleidoscope and the whole picture changes. Turn it again, the whole picture changes. Turn it again, the whole picture changes. Oh, wait a minute, I like that former picture. Try to get it back to the former picture. Good luck. It keeps changing. There's no substance. It appears to be substantial, appears to be something. So the target of spiritual life, the target of life, is Sat. Om Tat Sat. Spiritual reality is Sat. So you don't attain Sat. Even you do your duties impeccable, etc. Most people don't. But though, even if one were to do that, no Satness, no eternality, real substance. They don't gain anything. That's when you're looking at life through the lens of what's the purpose of life? Or what's truth, what's reality, what's happiness? Now, most people, they're not accustomed to looking at life through that lens. They look at it through different lens. And there may be some glimmer of appreciation, for some people, some glimmer of something that seems attractive about spiritual life. And as soon as that attractiveness to a spiritual life subsides, that is, the covering takes over. So they forget. But no harm, because it's eternal benefit just from hearing about Sat, and then Chit, and then Ananda, the absolute truth, the features of the absolute truth. That's Bhagavatam. So it's very nice. Very nice. And many of you are householders with children, and if your children hear, whatever they understand, they understand. Whatever they don't understand, they don't understand. But the sound vibration is a permanent asset. And as parents of those children, you should know it's a permanent asset. And according to different children have different capacities, etc., engage with them in activities of hearing Krishna book, or as we've been saying over and over, hearing Ramayana together. Somebody during this visit was sharing with me when they were little, their grandmother sat with them every day and they read Ramayana every day. Went in to this day. It's in. Grandmother had some children. They're this individual's uncles. One was named Narayan, the other was Madhava, the other was Vishnu. That was her sons. So even when calling her uncle, it's the Supreme Lord. It's in. It's not. It's there. So to whatever degree, as parents, it's in, you engage with faithfully with, according to the interest of the child and circumstance at home and so forth and so on. But as a family unit, engage in the same activity according to the capacity and age of the individual. And that's Krishna conscious family life, swadharmam, and the paradharma feature of swadharma, so that you and those who are your dependents can evolve towards sanatana dharma, perfection. Let's see if there's some discussion. Isn't the Bhagavatam nice? It's coming. Don't worry, don't worry.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the wonderful class. So in the purport, Prabhupada is mentioning that how Maharaj Bharat, when he passes away, he thinks of the deer, and next life he takes up the birth of the deer. But he has done a lot of devotional service.
Yeah,
So why wasn't he given that remembrance?
he was.
No, but during when he passed away, he was thinking of the stag.
The explanation that's provided by our acharyas is as follows. On the one hand, on the other hand, he did a lot of service, but specifically he attained the stage of Bhava Bhakti. That's up there. And he made a conscious choice. Wasn't circumstantial. He made a conscious choice to neglect his bhakti practice and instead dote on the deer. So that's what his mind was absorbed in, because he made a conscious choice. His practices slackened and his remembrance was covered because he made a choice to dote on the deer. And that was his absorption, all the way from Bhava Bhakti to deer consciousness. That's why. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj.
Over here.
Whenever we hear these particular descriptions, Maharaj, especially for those of us that are,
Especially what?
for whoever is in a situation where their practices may be up and down.
Speak slowly. I got it, but speak slowly. You have different speeds, and one of them is fast. And I don't hear so well, especially when people speak fast. So be kind to me. Thank you.
In such life circumstances, when we read these particular verses, how do we, on the one hand, I feel very, relieved, but how do I not become complacent by thinking, oh, there's no loss or diminution in this practice?
By advice to don't become complacent. That's, there's a force. By heeding instruction, you can be protected from complacency. Now, when you hear such instruction and you follow such instruction, there's something else that happens. What's that something else? Which is a response to your question. It's Rupa Goswami's teaching, Utsaha Nishchaya Dhairyat. You don't become complacent. Although the result may not come so quickly, you continue to be patient because of dhairyat. You have conviction in the goal and the process to reach the goal. Now, supposing that it wanes over time, that's complacency. So your question is how to not have it wane over time, how to not become complacent. By the very process that which is intrinsic to the soul has awakened, that's sadhusanga. I'll say the same thing in a different way. Same thing. A section of Chaitanya Charitamrita that is very sweet is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction to Sanatana Goswami. And one of the things that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does in that instruction to Sanatana Goswami, he describes kind of like the pyramid of all living entities. And then amongst all living entities, there are some that have a human form. There's some with a human form that follow dharma, and just the pyramid keeps going up and up. And when those who are in the human form and they're following dharma, some may engage in devotional service in the circumstances by association with sadhus. That explanation is given. Sadhu Sangha is necessary to even begin devotional service for dharmic people. And then he elaborates and gives other scriptural references At least Krishna does, Kaviraj does. And then he goes to higher stages. And then when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gets to the highest stages of bhakti, he gives an instruction to Sanatana Goswami. Even in those highest stages of bhakti, sadhusanga is imperative, not optional. Now back to your question. How do you avoid becoming complacent? Sadhusanga with the right sadhus, in the right mood, because you can have sadhusanga and be complacent or offensive or, out to lunch, not really present. So there's qualitative way for sadhusanga, but that's how it can be accomplished. Good association always. And what do sadhus do when you're with sadhus? Bhajana Kriya. And then there's qualitative Bhajana Kriya. In the association of sadhus, you do quality Bhajana Kriya. That's the answer to avoiding complacency. Okay, stay always in the association of devotees. Somehow. No, it's not easy. Some persons' life circumstances are difficult. They're in a remote place or something. Anything else? All the way in the back. But you didn't even hear the class, but you got a question. You're always here?
No, the question.
The question is. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, good morning. So, all these things are there. I kind of think all the time that why this dhyan and following bhajan is not easy.
Oh.
Any reason?
Oh, yeah. We're attached. What are we attached to? Ignorance. Oh, come on. I'm not attached to ignorance. I like knowledge. Really? So the affinity for matter is very impactful. Let me ask you this. Why do living entities come to the material world? What is the impetus for material existence? Simple. Desire misdirected. Come again, what's desire misdirected? I want to enjoy separately from Krishna. Small caveat. The wanting to enjoy is not the problem. Wanting to enjoy is not the problem. Desire is not the problem. Buddhists will say desire is the problem. Vaishnavas or the Vedas don't say desire is the problem. What's the problem? Ignorance. Ignorant desire is the problem. I want to enjoy separately from Krishna. That's why it's not easy. It's really strong. The reason we came to the material world keeps us here. You want to get free? You got this force that brought you here, that's keeping you here. There's Sanskrit terms, prapekshatmika shakti and avinarnatmika shakti. It's, the desire for a living entity to be an enjoyer and that which keeps us here. It's twofold trap. Very powerful. I can say it again in different ways, but it's the same message. A strong affinity for separate enjoyment. Even we know better, even we nod our head to say, yes, I get it. It's strong. The Maya is strong. Why Maya? Because we want it. I'm elaborate a little bit. Prabhupada was visiting in Durban, South Africa, in the conversations transcription section. And there was two professors, a male and a female, and the one professor, religion professor, was a bit of a philosopher. And he kind of got stuck on the same question asked in different ways. And his question was an ontological question. Why? And so he made it very clear, because he asked it so many times. I want to know the purpose. Not where did material existence come from, but why? And Prabhupada said, once he refined his response many times, but then he just kept repeating it. It's Ananda. We're pleasure-seeking beings. Same, I want to enjoy. Ananda is why material existence, but it's misplaced. We want happiness. We want it. Ananda is transcendental, but there's material reflection of Ananda, and we want that one because of our ignorance or our purposefulness of disregarding Krishna. I want to enjoy separately from Krishna. It's ignorance. Is there enjoyment in a reflection? Is there water in a desert? Is there happiness in the material world? We want. So there's the material world. There's the appearance of, we keep going for it and going for it and going for it endlessly until a certain point in time comes. Now back to your question. There's a process of reviving our original consciousness. And why isn't it easier? Because we have attachment to Maya, the enjoyment separate from Krishna, which doesn't exist. There's no water in a desert, by definition. That's what a desert is, a place without water. There's no happiness here, but we keep desiring happiness separate from Krishna. No such thing. We're very stubborn. Our dear friend, false ego, helps us. You can do it. You can have your spiritual happiness and material happiness at the same time. You can do it. You're smart. Do it. Back to your question, why is it difficult? Affinity for matter. That was the previous verse. You can go back and read the previous verse. Anything else? Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Gaur Pimanand.